Welcome back, Dragon Ballers, to Get the Mic, the only show where your hosts on the left, Owl,
And your host on the right, Brock.
dissect fiction for its mythological significance. On this episode, we're talking about Dragon Ball, as usual, and in particular, we're talking about Dragon Ball episode 65, which is in the English dub called Confront the Red Ribbon Army. And I think in the Japanese, it's Go Goku, Commence Assault. Something like that.
Yes.
Neither, it doesn't happen. Spoiler. It doesn't happen that way. But before we get there, we do have an addendum to get to.
Right.
Anything else before we'll get on to our addendum? Do you let me pull up a set of clips for our addendum. Let's say that.
So we were thinking about just sort of wrapping up our thoughts on Korin, since we're not going to be visiting Korin for a little while, right? Might not be until the King Piccolo saga, right?
Probably. I mean, he. I can't recall if he. I can't recall if he comes back or does anything when Goku returns to Upa's land.
Right, I don't remember.
So we'll see. It'll be a surprise for all of us.
But anyway, yeah, there's just a bit that we had said whenever we originally recorded take 1 of our last episode, and we sort of had some thoughts surrounding what Korin has represented for Goku, right?
Right.
The idea that he didn't have a gi that was made for him specifically. It wasn't a teaching that Goku adorned himself with, you could say, because it was a teaching of the self. So it was actually a structuring of Goku's character as a person and not necessarily his identity based on somebody else. So there's a very self realizing aspect of his training from Korin.
Well, I really like. I think this set will work. I really like how we got into it during. Oh no, it's not going to work on this one. So I really like how we got into it in the last episode or the last time we mentioned this when we were talking about how Goku maps onto Tao. And actually that kind of brings a good start to this episode too, because that's kind of how the recap goes. So we were discussing how Goku allowed Tao to show him more or less his potential spiritual malice against him.
Right.
So that he could map it, right? And it's something that he was able to do because Korin showed him how to make maps on others, right? He can map out other spirits as well as his own.
You could say he can see things from a perspective other than his own. There's an understanding of the other that is separate from the projection of just your own experience, right? And we see that how he sees Tao truly through the eyes of a Upa, and it's sort of this extension in that sense. And so, yeah, it really is the ability to map somebody else's experience.
And we were also talking about how he uses this, what he learns from Korin over and over, almost every fight, even up until Super, he lets this happen.
Right, where in a fight, he initially allows his enemy to beat him up quite a bit, and then he comes back stronger because that's how Saiyans are. And
yeah, that's it.
It's actually an aspect of Goku's character that's kind of unique to Goku, right? We don't really see other characters use this technique all that often. They can integrate it, right? Because there are characters that align similarly, but this is really an aspect of core Goku as a protagonist, is that he can do this. And he chooses to do this over and over, and it's not just filler, and it's not just to keep the fight going longer.
Right. It's Goku's mapping, and like we said, it's almost that wisdom gained from mapping Korin and learning that that is the path forward from Bulma, right? From his night up on the tower, that is kind of sacred knowledge that's only embodied, never articulated, and it is like other characters don't do this. Other characters don't let
Right.
and that's the thing. It's allowing the adversarial spirit to show its true form so that it can be addressed with truth forthrightly and destroyed.
Right. It's understanding in
Or
that sense.
not, I don't want to say destroyed because I mean, right, actually I will say destroyed because in
That's
this
what
part
happened to
it's
Tao.
destroyed. Yeah, definitely.
Um, and yeah, I really like that aspect of it because it ties in so well also to what we are seeing happen with Bulma and what we're going to see with Bulma in this episode specifically. Um, is that mapping and the integration of that. And so I really think that that's what the spirit of this series of episodes has been about. And so I wanted
Right.
to point that out. And in addition, there's this thing about Goku worrying about what he should worry about. It reminds me of that. I don't know what verse it is in the Bible, but it says, "Worry not for the struggles of the morrow, for the struggles of today is sufficient for thee," or something like that. I probably butchered it, but that idea really means that if you are oriented in the right direction, you only have to worry about today, right?
Mhm.
And it's so it's not just to say, "Oh, you don't need to worry about tomorrow because you can't control the future." That's what I interpreted it as whenever I was younger, but thinking about it in this context, it's more along the lines of if you are oriented properly, you won't have to worry about tomorrow because you'll be living truthfully, right?
Right, and that's what Goku does, right?
Mhm.
Um, but also I wanted to mention what you were talking about earlier, how he doesn't get any, he doesn't get a gi
Right.
from Korin, and I think one thing that I've kind of developed on from our last discussion about this as well is that I think Korin, goodness,
Well, I think it's developing Goku's heart, right?
hold
Like
on,
that's what's exposed.
I was gonna say the knowledge that Korin is imparting is almost not knowledge owned by any school, right?
Mhm.
Korin's a cat as well. It's almost a natural thing to be able to learn to map, right? It's a natural, it's a natural wisdom that can be attained just by forthrightly engaging with the other things in
Right.
your environment.
Properly directing your attention.
And
Right.
so I think that's one of the other reasons why there's no gi to it is because it's almost unowned, let's say. Because Roshi has amalgamated these things and made it his own in a way with the turtle shells, right?
Sure.
Um Korin doesn't necessarily do that.
He doesn't have an adornment like a shell that he
Right.
wears, right, to identify himself.
He does have sensu beans, which I think is a good part to
Yeah.
bring up now. So,
So,
sensu beans we've talked about before, right? It's
mhm.
that idea that spiritual nourishment is far superior to the material that you can get in the world.
Right. And there's this idea of balance, right? The alchemical idea that the Sinzu beans would balance out your
Hmm.
yin and your yang, right? And it would center you. And in that centering, right? And we see him here at the Axis Mundi at the centering, right? If you center, you can integrate information and transform to be able to adapt, right? It's very coded into the way that we interact with the world, you could say.
Oh,
So yeah.
I was saying that I I like how when Goku's leaving and talking to Bora about going to get his father, right? He still gets on the Nimbus and he's still able to ride the Nimbus. It's because the malice that Tao used was turned back against him. The last thing I wanted to re-mention from the last episode was Goku saying that he would beat up the Red Ribbon soldiers while he's
Mhm.
at it getting the Dragon Balls.
Right, like he was looking forward to being able to beat them up on the way.
Yeah. And so we kind of see a different because Goku's never really like let
He doesn't seek
he
out
said let's
conflict.
fight because before this and specifically before no I guess Tao, yeah, specifically before Tao, Goku used play a lot, right? There was
Right.
lots of play in the tournament, there was lots of play in the first season, and particularly even with the Red Ribbon Army for some part of it. Up until Blue, he was able to defeat everyone basically with play.
Right.
And so before it was let's fight to play. Let's engage in a competitive dance, for lack of a better term.
Sure.
But now it's completely different. Now Goku has that knowledge, and now it is I can use this power to get revenge, more or less.
Right. To destroy the evil
Yeah,
or the perceived evil, anyway.
right. And so that's what I like. I just wanted to bring attention to that before we moved on.
Right.
So, a little laggy. There we go. So, unbeknownst to Red this whole time, right? He still thinks that Tao is secure. So, back at Red Ribbon headquarters, Red is playing golf and reveling in his apparent victory. He gets a call from Colonel Violet, who says she's found another Dragon Ball. Using the original Dragon radar, built by Bulma, Violet has her men swim to the bottom of the lake and get the ball. However, their ship is attacked by a giant crocodile. Violet throws her own men into the river as a sacrifice and crashes the boat near her plane. Her last remaining soldier tries to start the plane only to be killed by some native tribe. Violet escapes, returns to headquarters, and receives her reward to the displeasure of Staff Officer Black. So we are going to start talking about Staff Officer Black.
Yes.
Before that, though, I do want to talk about how Violet's a little kind of Indiana Jones here, right? Like her hat, her mystery, right,
Yeah.
coming up, and it's almost the exact same scene from Raiders, the tribe at least, not really the crocodile, obviously, but it shows a couple things about Violet that she is in being a female, she's obviously not going to be adversarial in the sense that like Tao is. In the way that she's a feminine spirit, she's kind of using the duplicity and what do I want to say? The gullibility of others. Because she takes her men even and she throws them in the lake so that she can get away from the giant crocodile, right?
Right.
They didn't really expect her to do that. She's really out
Tosses
for
them
herself.
out of the boat.
Yeah, she's really out for herself and to get rewarded. And even at the end, like her getting the reward is a sticking point to her. She's like, "Give me my reward right now." And Red's like, "Oh, it's no big deal. Here's your reward."
Right. Well, what's money? Right.
But Black isn't. Why? And I want to get there. We'll get there in a second. So the
Mhm.
crocodile, I think that is a manifestation of Mother Nature going against the adversarial spirit. You see, in A Hero with a Thousand Faces, Campbell writes that it seems that Mother Nature herself is on the side of the hero. And even
Right.
Napoleon, when he was on his crusade of victory, right? He said that the winds of fate basically had him, and that as long as that was on his side, he would continue to win, and as soon as it's gone, he'll be nothing.
Right.
And that's exactly what happened. And so here, Violet should not have the radar. And so her using it is summoning up these obstacles to her,
Right.
right? And so the crocodile comes through, she sacrifices some men, and then the tribe comes through, right? And she doesn't really sacrifice her pilot, but her pilot goes down as well.
She catches a monkey.
She does catch a monkey. But that's the thing, she does show that feminine spirit by nurturing the monkey and letting it go instead of letting it die.
Right.
Um, but it is a selfish. This is a very, it's an adversarial female spirit, but not one that's gonna show the strength of spirit. Instead, it's gonna be someone more like Red, who's not gonna be physically strong manifested, right?
Right.
But I think now we can get into Staff Officer Black and why he's upset about her wanting her reward.
Staff Officer Black buys into the hierarchy. He thinks of
He's completely devoted to it.
he thinks of Red as not just having a higher rank than him, but literally being superior to him. He actually believes in the Red Ribbon Army, and he
Yeah, and I don't know if it's that he believes in that Red is above him like that. I think he believes in the idea of the Red Ribbon Army. Basically, he's a zealot for the Red
yeah,
Ribbon Army, which is great for the Red Ribbon Army because that's kind of the enforcers. Those are the people who get things done in organizations, right? Like Red obviously is the mastermind, but the person who executes those ideas is Black. And
right.
that's why I don't understand when people are like, "Oh, it's so racist that Black is second in command. Why couldn't he be a Black guy?" It's like he's second in command. What
Like
else do you want?
do you finish the saga? Do you see what happens?
Yeah, exactly right. Clearly not. So, but Staff Officer Black here, he believes so much in the spirit of the Red Ribbon Army, which is like a commitment to that disciplined force, right? That focused malice in the world that can achieve great things. He believes totally in that. And so when she's all about money, they're beyond money. The Red Ribbon Army is beyond money because of how Red has manifested his spirit in the world and Black has actually executed those wills, right?
Right.
Not to mention that Black is kind of that uh that formation of what Red has created. He's become like the embodiment, not the embodiment, but the almost the soul, I guess, or the inner workings of the Red Ribbon Army, right?
Mhm.
He's the one that commands all the other soldiers right around. He tells Red of the news, right? All of that stuff. He makes a lot happen. Reminds me of Dijkstra from The Witcher, actually,
Right.
or even a Maester.
See, it's interesting too. There's this aspect of it where doing something for the money, right? Like not serving the authority that you ascribe whatever your ideology happens to be, right? But it's resentful of the people that don't respect it. It seems to be that sort of manifestation there where it's like it's almost triggers that disgust sensitivity from people where they're like, "Ooh, like you're not focused on something that's good. Like you don't
Well,
recognize."
particularly, I think too, it's because she is an officer. She's a colonel, right?
Mhm.
It's not like a soldier wanting his pay. I think Black might understand that a little more. But he like Red believes so much in the idea of the Red Ribbon Army and how powerful it is and how disciplined its soldiers are, right? Even though we've seen White drink all the time on the job, right? We've seen Silver be unable to get the Dragon Ball, right. We've seen some not disciplined behavior, let's say,
Mhm.
like
Lots of it.
particularly like Fat Hitler,
Particularly Fat Hitler, yeah.
particularly Fat Hitler,
With
yeah.
the
And I
whip,
mean even Captain Yellow, right?
right?
So I mean their idealized version of it doesn't match. And so Violet fits in well with the cast of characters we've gotten, but to Black, she doesn't fit the discipline mold of what a Red Ribbon officer should be,
Right, and he's the staff officer.
which is probably why Blue was the highest ranking general because he was exactly that.
Right, he played it out, right?
Yeah, he embodied, and
Mhm.
that's why I think I really do like the Blue Saga, but
Oh,
we're
yeah.
past that. Anything else here?
No, I don't think so.
Ooh, oh, so we're back on Kame House at Kame House now on Roshi's Island, and Bulma has built a recon plane to track down Goku. She and Launch have to go fix the signal though. Whenever they launch it, it's not the camera's not displaying right, so they go up to the roof to fix the signal. And Roshi, in the meantime, uses the plane to his own ends, sending it to the beach to try and spy on girls. And so he does. He finds a girl to spy on who's about to take off her shirt, and then the signal goes out. And when it comes back, it's a pair of jeans coming down, and Roshi freaks out. And as the camera zooms out. It's a dude the whole time, and Roshi starts puking as Launch and Bluma return. They ask what's wrong, but he doesn't answer them. This is a little. It is a gag. This one I will say is it's just a gag.
You think so, huh? You see,
Well,
we were talking about seeing things from someone else's perspective, being able to extend your view out past yourself and recognizing the other, right? And so now Bulma has built this plane
oh
so
yeah,
that
no,
she can see
not
from
for
Goku's
not really
perspective,
for
right?
Bulma. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I was saying the
Okay.
Roshi bit. Yeah.
Because she makes this thing so that she can see that perspective, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Roshi tries to manipulate this because, like she did with a microband, he wants to take it and manipulate it for his own ends, right? So whenever he takes it, he tries to spy, like use Bulma's device to spy, right? Like he did before.
Mm-hmm.
But see, this time, whenever he does it and he tries to see, essentially, he wants to see Bulma, but now he can't see Bulma, right? So when he looks, Bulma goes up on the roof together with Launch, who she's able to get along with now, right? I want to point out. So as now she is integrated with that masculine aspect, like Launch is, and we even see her boss Launch around. Whenever Launch walks up, she looks at a piece and she says, "Oh, can you use this to find Goku?" And Bulma says, "Don't touch that!" And
Don't
she
touch
snatches
that.
it away
Yeah.
from her,
Yep.
and Launch like flinches back, right? So
Mm-hmm.
Bulma is actually on a higher level, right? So that's why when Roshi tries to use her device to peep, she and Launch are on the roof adjusting it, and then he sees a man. And then he's puking his brains out, right? Because he should know better. Because in the last episode, she tricked him. She's already mapped him, right?
Yeah.
And so now he can't use what she creates against her in that sense because she has integrated that masculine.
Hmm.
That's basically my interpretation of it.
Yeah. I mean, I think for Bulma, it is that knowledge not regained, but recently gained. Let's say
Right. And
that.
integrated, she's mapped it now, right?
Yes. And so now she's able to make this plane, right? So that
Right.
they can go find Goku. And it is another thing too to say that the archetypal female is able to seek out the hero which will
Hmm.
redeem, right?
As she becomes aware
Mhm.
of, like truly aware and
Well,
understands
that's
men, right?
part of it. Part of what she's been learning with Roshi and Launch being
Right.
here, right? Um the Roshi trying to use it is almost because it's always foiled, like the
Right.
microband foiling, right? Him getting flushed down the toilet, all that.
That one I feel like is more of a gag.
I mean, this one, the because it's not like Bulma's decision that he sees this, like it's just happenstance, really.
No, it's just like, but it's perfectly aligned. So it's like it's off for like 3 seconds, then boom, he's like replaced with, or she's replaced with a guy,
Yeah,
right? And it's as Bulma and Launch are both on the roof
fiddling with it,
fiddling with it, right?
but they're unknown to it, right? I mean, it's kind of, I understand what you're saying, like it's kind of an alignment
Hmm.
where this is happening because of Bulma's knowledge, but it's not Bulma causing it. Let's say.
Right, but Bulma has that defense from him in the way that Blonde Launch has that too right now.
I see what you mean.
Because Blonde Launch can't, she's integrated enough of her masculine side, you could call it your masculine side, whatever. Um, so much so that she can intimidate Roshi, right? And
Well, yeah.
and and she protects Blue Launch, right? Protects the spirit of Blue
Hmm.
Launch, right? And so that's a higher order sort of feminine spirit in a sense because it's protective of the feminine spirit as
Right.
such.
Yep.
And so Bulma is sort of aligned with that. And I
Hmm.
think that that's like a force
Right, that's what
field,
I'm saying. The
right?
feminine spirit of like the unknown, the chaos, right,
Hmm.
has aligned to defend Bulma here. Not that it's Bulma herself doing it.
Right,
That's all I was saying.
but it's integrated also the orderliness, right, into itself so that it's actually because it's mapping and it's being able to, how would I say, I mean, that's why I'm sort of assigning it this masculine shield, right? Because it's like, because of that integration and respect for the masculine spirit, and now she understands the perspective of the masculine as she's mapped it. that full integration is sort of like the thing that protects her from being taken advantage of or being
So I'm curious why you're saying that it's not, or that it's orderly, because I would think that it's like almost it's the calling forth of that chaotic spirit to align in a way that protects the feminine, right? Because it's obviously not known what's gonna happen between the 3 seconds that it's on static or whatever, right?
right.
It's it's that the same thing that we were talking about with Goku being, let's say Goku being supported by the mother nature, the chaotic feminine spirit
hmm
of that. It's the same thing, idea of that, but with the archetypal female, right?
I see what you're saying too,
Yeah.
and similar to the alligator, you could say. So like,
Well, the opposite, right? Because the
right,
alligator came to attack Violet because she had
exactly.
things she shouldn't have,
But this
right?
is where it aligns with the
Goku, I
hero,
mean, Roshi's trying to get things he shouldn't have,
right?
and so that, and it's Bulma's machine that in Gay's being protected, right? So
hmm
that's what I'm saying, is that it's an integration of that. But did you want to reiterate what you were trying to say about the orderliness?
Well, I only associated the orderliness as because I should say for the reason that it's associated with the masculine,
Hmm.
right? And so the integration of the masculine into the feminine, as evidenced in like the Durga symbolism, right? Durga symbolism, right?
Hmm.
Um, I think that launch is very aligned with
Yeah,
that,
you're talking about what she's learned and how
right?
that is what is the catalyst and what she has to learn first before the chaotic feminine spirit can actually
hmm
be that support for her.
Right.
She
What she
has to
has had to
map
learn, and now
the
she's able
masculine
to,
onto her. Yeah.
right?
No,
And
we're
that's
on
why
the
now
same
she's
page.
able to.
You
So
I think we were just talking about, you were talking about what it takes to
yeah,
get there, and I was describing what it is when it's there.
right.
Yeah.
So, but just tying that into that masculine spirit, I'm trying to continue that into this.
But I mean, what I mean is, as far as is what it means for Roshi, and this is
Mhm.
why I said it was a
Oh,
gag.
for Roshi,
It doesn't
nothing.
mean anything. Yeah.
For Bulma,
But for
I feel
Bulma,
like
yeah.
this is
And that's why
a
when
continuation
that's
of
why when
that.
you started talking about Bulma,
Yeah,
I was like, oh, well, no, for that, yeah. But when I said it was just a gag, I was meaning for Roshi's character specifically.
yeah. So, but that sort of influenced me to think that for Roshi, then for him to try to interface with it that way, then he would run into that integration, right? That sort of masculine thing we were talking about,
Yeah.
especially like with Durga and with
Oh,
the
I see.
jewel and the what I had sort of thought of the jewel as representing a respect for the masculine spirit
Mhm.
by having experienced the expression of pirates and the depths of malice, right? Or not malice, the depths of the chaotic spirit of death, essentially. So, but by being able to map and
Well,
then
that
contextualize at
rapine
that,
spirit that
yeah,
is what is pirates, right? Rape, pillage, plunder.
right,
And
and just understanding the power of it and having to interact with it and interface with it, right? Um, and that coming up at that same time for her, where she has to be able to pull herself up. Let's say, whenever she falls at the end of the um, initial conflict with Blue, right?
right. And
Rather than
none of
being
them help
saved
him.
by
And
Goku's
she's
Noibo,
like,
right?
"Why don't you help me?" Yeah,
And
yeah, I
so she
remember.
has to be able to protect herself and stand
No,
up for
right, and
herself.
that's what I was saying. Like,
Yeah,
we were talking about the same thing, just
sure.
not in the same time. So, yeah, that's pretty much, I think, a good spot for that. The last thing she does here is throws the drone out the window because she's about to send it to go see Goku. So the Dragon crew decide that Goku might be heading towards the Red Ribbon headquarters. So Bulma sends the drone after him. It finds him and continues on to see if the Red Ribbon headquarters is really up ahead. Goku asks it, "Who are you? Why are you following me?"
And then it takes
And
off.
then it takes off.
It was a
Uh,
bird. It
Staff
flew away.
Officer, yeah, Staff Officer Black orders the destruction of Bulma's drone as soon as it enters into Red Ribbon airspace. Bulma tries to dodge and weave her way through the defense systems, but after the drone is able to see the Red Ribbon headquarters, it is destroyed by rockets. So we have a couple things here. So Bulma's ability to both find the hero and
hmm
um, learn that basic map and find her way through that. It's kind of what allows her to get to that center point of the red ribbon place
Right.
to begin with. And so, but as soon as she's done, that's kind of the extent of her spirit at this point and what it can do. It'll improve more, but I mean that's just character growth, I'd say. So, she does see that it is Red Ribbon headquarters, and they all kind of freak out, right?
Especially because she gets attacked when she gets there
Hmm.
and immediately loses the sight.
Yes, because the appreciation for the masculine, right, and the acceptance of that integration isn't enough to, let's say, gaze freely into
War.
something unholy. Yeah, war, let's say. Hmm.
Right. War is hell. War is hell.
You got a couple of those
I gotta
today.
get some water. But
You
yeah,
need
war is
more?
hell.
Okay. So, yeah, and I mean the other thing is too that Goku's inability to understand the in the instantiation of Blooma's spirit here in the drone is something to comment on because Goku can map to and from other people. And especially now after he's learned after he's put it into practice on Tao. He learned it with Korin, he practiced on Tao the first time, he used it on Tao the second time. And so he can really map onto people. But this drone is an instantiation of Bulma because it is not only, I mean, created by her, but this technological innovation that she's able to cultivate through her appreciation for the paternal and ancestral spirit, one of her father and two of Roshi himself here, that she's able to build the drone that can go through the jamming systems of the Red Ribbon Army, and it can pierce through, and she can see the danger of the Red Ribbon Army itself. But that's it. That's the extent she can see to it because it is her spirit is not yet fortuitous enough to be able to withstand um, seeing that, let's say, for an extended period. And I would say Brock is right. War is definitely hell. And so I think that's pretty much all for this.
Incredible. I walked out after I said war is hell and I walked into war is hell. So yeah, that's what I think.
Hell is war.
So sorry. I had to leave Al to vamp on that because it
Oh
was
no,
so
I was
hard.
talking about I was discussing how Goku's mapping and Blooma's mapping is different
Right.
and how Goku's able to map on people and he's unable to recognize Bulma's spirit because she has arrived in this technological way, which has come through a melding of her appreciation of the ancestral father and the spiritual father here with Roshi, right? And so even though it is those that allow her to pierce through this gaze, the logos isn't able to necessarily understand and know what the archetypal feminine is because it is by nature chaotic.
Right. It is unknown, right?
Right. And so like the things that Bulma can do with technology are pretty much unknown, right? It is that divine spark, let's say. And so
Absolutely, yeah.
Goku's not able to understand that at this point anyways. And
That's an
so
aspect of Bulma's character, right?
yeah.
That and you can see her just twirling her tools and building something magnificent out of nothing and like that is why she does that, right?
Mhm.
Because you see her in Z and you're like, "Oh, she's that inventor," but you don't really see it if you haven't watched Dragon Ball. And this whole uh she's very capable, right? As far as a competence hierarchy goes, she's like a peak level inventor, right?
Yeah, definitely. And it's because like we said, it's some of those boons that she got in the early episodes of Dragon Ball from that ancestral spirit. and
Mhm.
and how she had to regain the appreciation for that through a trip with Blue, and now she has to appreciate the spiritual father on Kame House. She has nowhere else to go, and so she's focused on one thing here, right? And it's getting along with these people and being able to map out how she can interact with the masculine spirits in the world. And that is what she's able to do, and that's why she's able to invent these things now, and especially I mean, we've seen her like tinker with the dragon radar, but I think this is like the first time we really see her like hammer down into it. But
Right.
let me explain the clips that we're seeing right now because this is the next set. But I think it really goes into what we were talking about because
Hmm.
in an effort to help Goku, Roshi volunteers to bail him out of this mess, saying that he's his master and so on. And Turtle questions him, reminding him they have no transportation. This reminds Bulma of Yamcha, and she bemoans the lack of phones at Kame House. Turtle, wise as he is, reminds her that she can just make one. After calling her house, and she even says like, "Wow, that's really smart." And
Thanks
so,
for reminding me, Turtle.
yeah, it's Turtle. And so after calling her house, she gets a hold of Yamcha, and he and Puar and Oolong head to Kame House to meet up with everyone. Meanwhile, Goku clears the last peak to see the Valley of the Red Ribbon Army. So here, like we were saying, Bulma is really like breaking into that creative flow, and I think it's because now she may not be riding the Nimbus, but she is on a path, and it's a good path.
Right, and for her, that path involves having to contact Yamcha.
Yeah, because now, yes, now that she has gained appreciation for the ancestral father and the spiritual father, she now has to make amends with the incomplete
Right, you
masculine.
got the Father, the Holy Spirit, and the Son.
Yes, and so the son must now be
The immature masculine with the puer.
brought up with a puer, brought up and awakened by the feminine spirit who's now fully realized, right? And this is kind of maybe not fully realized, but more mature. And this is kind of what happens in The Lion King as well, is that when Nala returns to Simba, right, she's instantiated in a way that's focused on the right things. She's trying to find him to save the kingdom, and she's calling forth the hero.
Right,
She also finds the hero, which is another thing here, like Bulma finding the hero. It's something we see over and over. Um, and so her being this way is supposed to call forth the best in Yamcha. And it kind of does because he's like immediately like, yeah, let's go fight the Red Ribbon Army. And Oolong's like, no, nah,
I
I'm too
like
scared.
this, right? Because bringing Oolong back into the fold now, talking about what we've talked about with Bulma and sort of her integration and her growth. Now Oolong's along for the ride for a totally different Bulma, it seems, right?
Yeah. And we'll see how they interact in
Hmm.
the coming episode.
And but it's funny, we see he's trying to creep away, and up on the mantle, you've not the mantle, but above the window, you see that there's just the bandit sword on the wall.
Yeah.
He's hung it up, you know.
Yeah. It's sheathed as well, right?
Right.
And so yeah, he gathers them up and they go. Anything else to say here?
I don't think so. No.
Okay. And so Goku does clear that last peak, and now we just have one last little bit to get to for this episode. And it's the montage,
The
the
hype.
music video, the hype video. So as Goku flies into the fray, a montage appears. At first, it is the Red Ribbon Army brutalizing people and being impressive. And then it shifts to show Goku, first destroying White and Muscle Tower, and then in his fight with Tao. The song ends by saying, "Let your very being burn."
Defeat them, Red Ribbon. That's great. I love how hyped this sequence is. You know, it's got this feeling of like everything's aligning for a big battle. You
And
know.
it is all aligning because this is uh it's like the pinnacle spirit of envy that is being instantiated here, and Goku is having to go challenge. And he has seen facsimiles of it. Thuggery, right? It's a part of enviousness. You saw
Petty
the
tyrant.
disgust,
Right.
right? Well, sure, let's say Colonel Silver, petty tyrant, but like
Hmm.
the disgust in blue, we saw that. And it's in the malice in Tao. We saw that it's not the exact same because Red can't manifest exactly that, but it is all aligning. It's all coming down to this: the spirit of the Red Ribbon Army, which is synonymous with Red more or less, because he has formulated this from his own will. And so all of these, all like blue and white, we've talked about how they are parts of his psyche. And so this is it. This is the big challenge. Can the hero destroy envy?
Incarnate.
But see that, then that's really Red himself.
Right.
But the Red Ribbon Army itself is a little bit greater. It's almost on a next plane than that. It's kind of what envy can spawn, right?
Right.
And what it inevitably spawns. But we'll get there when we get to, I think, the next 2 episodes from now.
Right.
But for now, yeah, I mean, this hype video is amazing because it goes through how that disciplined um force that was once the Red Ribbon Army, right, in the very beginning, the mysterious force that destroyed Pilaf, that's actually instantiated with a level of malice, because they're ruthless, they don't ask questions, right? They'll blow up buildings and all that. A level of malice,
Right.
military malice, let's say, which, let's morally, right, is not as bad as Tao's malice, but it is still, well, actually, I don't know, depends on it, because morally, military malice can be pretty bad.
I mean, it's literally just like a band of thugs with a petty tyrant at the top. And it makes me think of the way that the mountain acted in Game of Thrones, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whenever he was it in the Riverlands,
Yeah.
raping and pillaging
Well,
and
some of them, yeah,
abusing
like
his power
Silver.
and abusing the power that his authority had given him, right?
Silver, yeah, but I mean, like, I don't know about Blue with that, and White definitely not. White's a different
I
creature.
just mean in
Oh,
general, like,
you mean just the regular soldier?
well, we as we see like in all of these clips, right, where they're just carelessly attacking anything in front of them,
Yeah,
shooting
yeah, yeah,
monkeys,
yeah.
just like
And
abusing
that's
people,
the
blowing up
thuggery,
buildings.
right?
That's that level of like it's like a despotism. It's almost like you're not obeying a moral code. You're abusing the fact that you have the strength of an army, right?
Right. It is the abuse of power, but I do want to mention, like, the pyramid aspect of it.
Hmm.
So remember, canonically, Silver is in it for a very small amount of time.
Right.
And so White is really the first general we see. And so that we can consider that like the bottom band of the triangle. And I agree with you. Most of the Red Ribbon soldiers are
Right.
thugs, right? It's just a thug, abuse of power, um, for almost gleeful ends. Because I mean, bullies, they get some pleasure out of doing the bullying, right? And so that's kind of what they are.
Right. And it's just it's malicious in that sense, right? Because there's no reason to act that way if you're just trying to like find the Dragon
It
Ball,
is
right?
it is malicious, yeah.
So it's a
But it's a
specific
that's what I
malicious
wanted to
spirit in
say.
that way.
It's a level of maliciousness. I didn't want to
Yeah.
confuse it with Tao's
No,
maliciousness.
not on that level, right? Because
Yeah.
it's they have a purpose beyond, just they're attacking obstacles in their way on their way to something,
Yeah.
right? That something doesn't happen to be the things in their way.
Well, and they also think, there's a greater cause behind this.
Right.
And I think Black has really instilled that
Yeah, he's
on them.
bought into it, you could
Yeah.
say.
And so we're gonna see what happens. Like, let your very being burn. Go fight.
Go fight,
And
Goku.
Goku will go fight. In this hype video, I recommend you look it up if you haven't seen it. It encapsulates it really well, and yeah,
It's sick.
it also brings up this part with Bora and Upa and Tao, and how it is up to Goku to set things right again. So here we go.
He will finally confront the Red Ribbon Army.
Anything else?
Nope.
Great. All right. Well, if you liked what you heard, please subscribe. Give us a like. If you disagreed with anything or agreed and just want to leave a comment, please leave a comment. We upload Sunday, Tuesday, and Thursday on YouTube, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday on Rumble. We are going to have a short hiatus sometime soon, because of we want to take some time to fashion out a couple of other videos. But we'll be back with the Baba saga once we finish this
The
in a
Baba
couple weeks.
Saga.
Baba Yaga saga. There we go. Anyways, we hope you guys enjoyed. I'm your host on the left, Owl,
I'm your host on the right, Brock.
and we hope you guys have a good night.
Untouched by the steady march of time, there lived an old master named Gohan, who found a baby boy abandoned in the wilderness of the region. The old master raised the boy as his own child, and marveled as the youngster grew and became uncommonly strong. Now the boy, known as Goku, is on his own, and has become the sole guardian of his grandfather's most mystical possession, his Dragon Ball.